All right, today we're diving into a massive piece of regulation that's changing the game for Europe's entire financial sector. It's called the Digital Operational Resilience Act, but pretty much everyone just calls it DORA. So what is it, and why does it matter so much? Let's get into it.
I want you to just picture this for a second. A single, major cloud provider has a massive outage. Or maybe a really sophisticated cyber attack hits a key bank. Or even just a tiny software bug that starts a domino effect through the payment network. Suddenly, the entire European financial system could just stop. That is a huge, very moderate risk.
And that exact terrifying scenario is precisely why regulators created DORA. It's designed to be a digital fortress for the EU's entire financial system.
So you might be wondering, why now? Why was DORA even necessary? Well, it turns out it addresses a really critical gap in how the industry used to handle technology risk.
Before DORA, the whole approach was, honestly, a bit of a mess. The rules were scattered all over the place, and for the most part, financial firms just had to set aside a bunch of money to cover potential losses from failures. You see the problem, right? It was a totally reactive approach. It was like having a fund to pay for damages after your house burns down, but not actually having any fire alarms or sprinklers.
This quote just nails it. The old model was like having great insurance but no fire extinguisher. Money alone can't stop a systemic meltdown. So DORA completely flips the script. It's all about building that extinguisher, the actual ability to withstand, contain, and recover from tech disruptions, not just paying for the damages after the fact.
Okay, so let's get a really clear definition. What is DORA exactly? At its heart, DORA is a single, unified rulebook for the entire EU. It takes all those scattered guidelines and puts them into one comprehensive framework. And the goal is super simple. Make sure every single financial institution is ready for any kind of tech-related disaster you can think of.
Its whole mission really boils down to these three key actions. DORA says firms have to prove they can withstand things like a major cyber attack. They have to prove they can respond effectively when something does happen, and they have to prove they can recover quickly from things like a system failure or a cloud outage. Withstand, respond, and recover. That's the mantra.
And look, this isn't some far-off concept we're talking about. As you can see from this timeline, DORA was adopted back in late 2022, and it had a 2-year period for everyone to get their act together. Well, that period is over. As of January 17, 2025, these rules are live and fully in effect. The time for prep is done. This is the new reality.
So who exactly has to follow all these new rules? You might be surprised. The short answer is pretty much everyone in the financial world. I mean, they cast a really wide net on purpose. It covers all the usual suspects, of course, banks, insurance firms, investment firms. But it also pulls in the newer players like payment institutions and even crypto asset service providers. It doesn't matter if you're a 100-year-old bank or a brand new FinTech. If you're a regulated financial entity in the EU, DORA is your new rulebook. But here is where it gets really fascinating. DORA's influence stretches way beyond companies that are actually based inside the European Union.
This quote really captures the global reach perfectly. Let's say you're a cloud provider based in the US, or maybe a SaaS vendor, or any tech company that provides services to EU financial firms. Well, guess what? You are now indirectly on the hook. Your EU clients are legally required to bake DORA-specific clauses into their contracts with you. We're talking about things like giving them audit rights and mandatory incident reporting. So basically, if you want to do business with Europe's financial sector, you have to play by DORA's rules.
So what does following the rules actually look like day to day? Well, DOR is built on 5 core pillars that spell out exactly what's required.
Okay, these 5 pillars are the absolute heart of the regulation. First up, ICT risk management, which just means you need a solid, documented plan for all your tech risks. Second is incident reporting, and this sets up a super strict process for telling regulators when things go wrong. Third, you've got resilience testing, which means running regular war games, think penetration testing and recovery drills, to prove your defenses actually work. Fourth is third-party risk, and this is a huge one. It means you have to deeply vet and manage the risk coming from all your tech suppliers. And finally, information sharing, which actually encourages firms to share intel on cyber threats with each other. Let's just zoom in on that reporting pillar for a minute, because the timeline here is pretty incredible. Once a firm decides an incident is major, they could have as little as 4 hours to get an initial report over to their regulator. 4 hours! That is a tiny, tiny window, and it means your response plan has to be a perfectly oiled machine.
And maybe the most crucial shift here is that DORA yanks this entire topic out of the IT department and drops it right into the boardroom. The board and senior management are now directly, personally accountable. They have to sign off on the risk strategy, get regular updates, and basically own the company's resilience. The buck now stops right at the very top.
So who's the referee in all of this? Well, it's a team effort. The day-to-day supervision is handled by the national regulators in each country. But the really detailed technical standards, the nitty-gritty rules, are written by these three big European supervisory authorities: the EBA for banking, ESMA for markets, and EIOPA for insurance. They make sure the rules are consistent everywhere, and they even get to directly supervise the most critical tech vendors themselves.
When you take a step back, you realize DORA isn't just another compliance checklist. It's a fundamental shift in the entire mindset of the financial industry.
And this, right here, is the single most important thing to understand. For decades, financial regulation was all about one thing: capital, having enough money set aside to cover your losses. With DORA, digital and operational resilience is now a primary regulatory duty, every bit as critical as a firm's financial health. This is truly a new era of accountability for the technology that powers our entire financial system. The fortress has been built, the rules are in full effect, and really the final question it leaves for everyone in the industry is a simple one. Is your digital foundation actually ready for this new reality?